Welcome, guys, to episode 16 already of Cut the Curve, where I interview mentors, moguls, and entrepreneurs. I'm Philip Zweig. I've been in the game 23 years in Arizona. Have done a lot of flips, a lot of wholesale. Now I am strictly short-term rentals, and I'm here today with Raj Campbell. He's a developer in Phoenix, Arizona. So welcome to the show, Raj.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you. So let's talk a little. We always go into background, where you're from, like what got you into, being an entrepreneur. Like, where did it all start?
Man, that's a good question. So I'll say I'd give credit to my father. Yeah, my father was a entrepreneur on a very small level, but at the age of 7, we were selling candy, we were selling pies, we were selling little chargeable solar panel little radios.
So you saw that example as a young boy.
Yeah, I seen it through paper routes, all of that, even at 7. I think I started my first business. Well, I got a brother. My brother's name is Calais. And me and Calais started a candy business. And when I was about 13, he was 11. So that was our officially first business.
That's exciting. And shout out to paper routes when there were paper routes.
Right.
Yeah.
So my age,
I was tiny and I was carrying this big giant bag up the street and down the hills. And
right.
So that's kind of, I got into it, and then shoveling snow. And then I think we were around 11 or 12. There was 3 of us that started a lawn. We mowed lawns. So we created the brochures. We went door to door, and that was kind of our summer work and back in the Midwest. So that's doesn't happen to everyone. They don't have that example in their house. So that's why we're here to teach. I mean, there's so much that you don't know what you don't know.
Right. Well, yeah. So we started that, and then I played football.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a football player.
So you were an athlete.
I was an athlete. I was all state. I was tearing it up in football. I ended up going to a junior college in California. My high school, my college quarterback was Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
Aaron Rodgers.
And I'm a Bears fan, so
yeah.
I still love Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, every time I see him, is what's up, how you doing? It's good vibes.
So where you grew up in Denver? You got in sports when you were young?
Honestly, I played football only 1 year in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, only 1 year in high school.
You were just bigger than everyone. Right?
Yeah,
you're pretty big.
Yeah, I started tearing it up. Yeah, I played basketball most of my high school career.
Okay.
But I played football and I tore it up, and so I ended up.
What position?
Wide receiver. Yeah, wide receiver.
You had some wheels on you.
Yeah. They started me at tight end, moved me around. It was all of it.
Man, I don't know how you did it with all those hits. Like these guys.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Man, I mean, they couldn't hit me.
You were moving and shaking like you did in the
dodging them like
now.
Floyd, man. Yeah, they couldn't hit me. And so that happened, and then I ended up, finishing up school in Colorado. Then I ended up moving down to Arizona. My brother, he played football. He played football for the Arizona Cardinals. And so I ended up moving out here with him.
Was he offense or defense?
He's defense end.
Okay.
Yeah, he's defense end. And he tore it up, so I stayed with him for a little while. And then, just...
So through athletics, guys, I've worked in corporate America, and it was always the people that were trained, disciplined, because this game of entrepreneurship, you have to be disciplined. No one's going to say, hey, Raj, it's time to wake up. Let's go make some cold calls today.
No, I agree. I think that sports and entrepreneurism is tied. It's close.
Yes.
It's really tied in. I mean, you got to have leadership. You got to have motivation.
Yes.
You got to have drive. You got to have a goal.
And that starts with our coaches, right? Growing up.
Coaching and just wanting to be the best too. I think it's in you. A
lot of times it is in you, right?
I think it's just in you. Like, you just can't, growing up, to be fair, I've seen poor, you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Like, we lived in homeless shelter, poor,
Right.
And I told myself, like, I never want to be that,
Right.
I just never want to come home and just, be that, level of poor. So that inspired me as well.
I'm sure that was a strong reference in where you are today.
Yeah, no, it helps. It does help. I mean, for one, I think it does give you this sense like, I'm still good if I do lose everything. Like, I'm not going to commit suicide. I'm going to dust myself back off and then go again because I've been poor, but you just don't want to go there, so you work really hard.
And to me, I always learned there's a difference between poor and broke, right? Like, poor means you still can get it, but broke is a mindset.
Yeah, it's a spirit thing. Like your spirit's broke. Like you can injure a man, but you can't break a man. I think it was John Harbaugh say that. I was like, man, that's powerful. Right there. That's powerful. So
that is some good nuggets. Yeah. So one thing, people, if they're not self-motivated, they have to be coachable, right? So we have a short-term rental program, and we're only looking for people that are coachable. And I believe everyone is coachable if they're willing to put in the work and stick to it. Like, you can't get into developing in 6 months, think you're going to be the next king of the hill.
It takes time, and it takes. I mean, honestly, you just got to build a network.
The network is
I think
huge.
you got to build a network. I mean, I think that just being open and going to try new things and meet new people. I mean, how I got into development, honestly, I was with a friend. I just got my real estate license, and we were, going to look at some properties. I was trying to buy some properties for some NFL clients I had. And I went to a party, and there was this guy named Joe Reese.
Okay.
And Joe Reese is a really big developer in Tempe and then throughout Phoenix. And so I met him at first. He was looking at me like, man, get this guy out of my face, man. Right. So I had to get his information because I was like, yo, you built this. I had to get his information. So I told him I was trying to buy some of his units. So a year passed. I just kept trying to, contact him, reach out to him. Then eventually we came up with a deal, and I ended up purchasing some of his units.
But what is it that you saw in Joe? Why were you wanting to?
Because I mean,
Joe.
I went to the top. I wasn't trying to waste my time with the guys who were,
maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not.
Yeah, I wanted to go to the guy who had made the decisions.
Yep.
So I went straight to him, and then me and him started connecting, and then he knew I had connections to athletes, and so he got cool with me, and we was able to work out a lot of deals, and so
connections, guys. That everything. Get out there, network, meet people in the space you want to get into.
Right. And, I had to say that Joe just passed recently. He passed about a month ago. He had got a mesothelioma, which is asbestos in the ceiling. So, give him a shout out.
Shout out to Joe.
Shout out to Joe, but he taught me a lot. I knew him for about maybe 6 years. In those 6 years, it changed everything.
Yeah. So I had the same experience, not with Joe, but with Jerry. When I met him in 2005, I was just chugging along, but then I met Jerry, and now I'm doing real deals. I'm up there. And so everyone needs a Joe, Jerry in their life, man.
Yeah, true. I mean, to be fair, Joe had a strong personality.
Most of it, yes. There's a lot of entrepreneurs. Very strong. So as someone wanting to learn from Joe, you're probably like, how do I relate to Joe, and how do I interact with Joe? Because you needed to learn from him.
I mean, honestly, when we first met, Joe is always looking to win. That's just how he's engineered.
Built.
And so when he first started, I'm trying to win. We had that in common. So I was trying to get a really good deal because we were a cash buyer, and we got him way cheaper than what he was trying to sell it for. And so we did that. 2 of them were built, and 3 of the units were not built. And so he gave us the 2 that were built, and then the 3 that were not built, he built those real basic. Okay. So I was pretty upset with that. And so, I first met Joe, we actually was crashing heads.
Okay.
He was bumping his chest, I was bumping my chest, and then
2 dogs going at it.
2 dogs going at it. Yeah, but he revealed, and honestly, I learned how to develop indirectly. I didn't really learn that from Joe. I learned that I learned it from him, but he didn't teach it to me directly.
Okay.
It was kind of like just picking up stuff like, who was his architect, or, who was his general contractor, what banks does he use, what kind of loans? Because a lot of times you development, it's really in the financing.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. It's really.
I'm not too familiar with development, so maybe you could share that with the audience.
It's really in the financing when you develop. You got to know how to structure deals. Yeah, if you don't know how to structure deals, you're going to have a very tough time in development. Because buying land, it's not easy to buy land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you don't really have if something goes wrong, you don't have nothing to fall back on. There's no house or structure on it.
Right.
So a lot of banks are they won't do
They
land
won't
loans.
touch it, right?
Yeah. So you gotta learn how to really finance to develop and learn and get connections with the right banks and the right people in that.
Okay. And where did you learn that from? Was that
You know, actually, there was a guy named Marvin Wilson. I'm gonna give him a shout out.
Shout out to Marvin out
Shout out
there.
to Marvin.
Yep.
I met him through his wife Cece. Cece was a good friend of. I met her through a CRC foundation. It's a foundation my family does.
Okay.
And they brought Cece on. I met Cece and I was telling her what I was doing, and she told me her husband Marvin is really good at financing. So when Marvin came around, he really gave me the confidence to learn how to structure deals, and he was the one that
was a piece of the puzzle, right?
that was definitely some
piece.
pieces of the puzzle, yeah. And Marvin really showed me how to structure deals and give me that confidence. Sometimes you just need a push, you know. You just need, you know.
We all need confidence at what we don't know, right? Like
Yeah.
push in the pool, push on your bike, whatever, just basic.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Once you get pedaling, you're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, you know, and I'm the young guy in the building. You know, all these dudes are in their 60s. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the young guy in the building, but
You
know.
were the dumbest, and that's what I want to be, the dumbest
I mean, you
guy
feel me?
in the
I mean,
building.
it's just
that's how you elevate.
you gotta be ready to learn.
Yep.
It's all about learning. Like
Yep.
I still say I'm still learning to this day. You know.
And so one of the things we talk about a lot is like I get hit up, some of the other guys on the show, you probably do too, and how do people provide value who want to learn, but like for example, what would they do to get in front of Raj Campbell? Like, you know, they can't just take you out for coffee because you're a busy man. You have things to go. They don't know you, but they want to find out how to get connected to you in some way.
I mean, well, first of all, you gotta study somebody. That's the first
Love
thing.
it.
You gotta
Yep.
study somebody, find out.
What their sweet
Find out what they want. Everybody wants something.
100%.
Everybody wants something. Every creature.
And everyone
wants
needs
something.
help too. It's
Yeah.
their company's blowing up, so we
Well,
can
yeah,
do so many
they could
things.
want some help. So
Yeah.
you know, you gotta focus in what they want, and
Yep.
then you know
I love
once
that.
once you find out what they want, because you know what you want, but you gotta find out what they want. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And then I think once you find out what they want, then you got them in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, and then you just try to add value to what they want, and I think that's the key
beautiful.
to getting to meet people and getting to know people.
Yeah, because you're a master connector. I could tell just when you walked in. We just met today, and you know that is important, and not all of us can do that. So, like for me, when I first started networking, I wasn't comfortable around big groups, so I had to learn to be comfortable in the room. But now it's like reps. Anytime you start doing more reps at something, you get better. So if you guys aren't comfortable around large groups, just start with smaller groups. Next thing you know, you'll be in front of big groups. And I always say you have to know your elevator speech too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't go in a room and say, hey, I'm Flip, I do this, this, and this. You got to know what you want to be remembered for. Who is Raj? Who's like
no,
Flip?
this is true. This is true. I mean, I think that, you know, it goes like to time. Like, if you think in your head, like, you don't have a lot, people think they have a lot of time.
Right.
I just don't think there's a lot of time out there. Like, at the end of the day, like, you know, you're in your 20s and boom, now you're in your 30s. You know,
Yes.
And your 30s go faster than your 20s.
And wait
know,
till
then
you have
look up-
kids. That's like,
you see how,
Yeah.
you see, I got a lot of nephews and nieces, and I just see how fast they grow. And that's just a reminder
100%.
that how fast time goes.
Yes.
And so people think they have forever. I'm gonna get around to it next week or the week after that. But if you think in your head there's not a lot of time, you're gonna move different.
There's a sense of urgency
Yeah.
behind that, right? Like
Yeah.
that's one of the first things I do with the students I teach is time block. Where are you spending your 168 hours we're given in the week? If you are spending so much downtime, are you sure you are who you say? Like
Yeah.
because we don't know. Like if we're not tracking, we could get lazy. All of us tend to get lazy watching the game for 3 hours. Like
Yeah.
So time block your stuff.
Or the real thing is the Instagram and the
100%. Yeah, you get tied up.
The TikToks. and-
Yeah,
You
yes.
get really tied up into that stuff. And so yeah, you're right. I mean, the key is just to focus on if you knew how fast time goes,
Man.
because we're all on borrowed time, you know.
Yep.
And so I think that you really have to focus in, like, you know, if I'm gonna die, did I accomplish everything I was supposed to accomplish in that little
love
time?
that.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you got to think like that. Like, you know, that we don't live here forever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I've been to Egypt, and I saw how fast they built those pyramids. They built things in 25 years.
Wow.
And it was incredible to me, you know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying, how fast these people were doing things. And it's like just absolute focus will get you there.
Yeah, and that one of the things I did when the kids were little, I would go to the cemetery because like the cemetery, you don't have all this time. Like
Yeah.
it's not a sad place. It's just like
No,
unfortunately we all pass on. So
Right.
like time is it was a strong message I
No,
tried
that's
to
true.
send
I've
to
never
them.
done
Bro.
that, but yeah, I get
You
the
know,
message,
like
yeah.
let's talk about it. Where to like
Right.
so yeah, time is such it's a commodity. That's why when people say, "Can I take you to coffee?" I would love to, but honestly, I'm on target to do certain things, certain
I
goals.
think
Like,
though, with your time, I think the key is to just. I heard Charlie Munger say it. He's like, a lot of times you just sit in a chair and think. A lot of people try to do something at the time. Oh, I got to go here, I got to go there. It's better to sometimes sit there and think about the best strategy. See, thinking is something complicated. I think it was like Albert Einstein. Somebody said, thinking is difficult. That's why a lot of people don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because thinking is key. Just sit there in the
100%
chair
strategic.
and just think.
Yes.
It's okay. You know,
Action isn't always getting you results, guys. Like,
Right.
you could take all this action, but where are you going? Like,
yeah. And so, I like this.
thinking. I like that. Yeah. So what that looks is different for everyone. It could be meditating. It could be just like I do a hour of power every Sunday. It turns into 3 hours, but like I write a lot of stuff because that helps me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, writing is a part of thinking. I think that even reading, like
Yes.
somebody said, listen to book audio in the car. But I think when you listen to book audio, which is good, I recommend doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of listening to music, the same songs 1,000 times. I would prefer you drive in your car and listen to audio books. But I think reading exercises the imagination more, and it sticks to you more.
man, there's something about imagination too. Like we could create that in our own head and then put it out in reality. So
Right.
that's the beauty of imagination. Like I always like there's nothing that you can't imagine. So
Right. I mean, it all falls in the category of thinking. That just adds to the thinking.
Yes.
I mean, once you start getting more in the thinking expands.
Yes.
And the key is to expand the thinking.
and your awareness expands and
Right.
it goes to surrounding yourself with the right people too.
Right.
Because if you're the smartest guy, you got to find a new group.
Right,
Like,
right. You start to learn that too. I think that a lot of people really don't want to think. A lot of people
they
don't.
want, yeah. Why is that, you think?
It's difficult. It's difficult, and it's stressful. I mean, I think that thinking you have to make certain moves. But I think the thinking is the preparation part. But a lot of
Yeah.
people, that's why a lot of people are not geared to be entrepreneurs, and they're not geared. They don't have it in them. I think you need a certain skill set, and a lot of people don't have that in them.
Yeah, yeah. So thinking's one of the things that my mentor taught me about that. A lot of us think that we have to have the answer right away. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
Raj, what's that answer?
Right. What's the answer to gravity? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
what he taught me is like, it's all on you, Flip. You could turn around and say, can I get back to you on that? And let me
Right.
think on it. And I
Yeah.
truly do think on it because I don't know that right moment because I got 10 other things I'm doing.
That's what I've noticed, and so I noticed the more things that the more things you have on your plate, the more things you go after, the less time that you have to think. That's what I noticed. Even like when you start getting money, it's funny. Even women start taking more of your time up, And before you have money, women weren't taking your time up, So it's kind of hard. You got to. Then I think discipline comes after that,
100%. Because, yeah.
Yeah.
Because now you have all these options and people taking your time and you staying in your own lane is critical, I think, because I tried to get in a commercial a few years back. It's all right to try different things, but I'm so into residential. I do so well. Like, but I went off my lane for a while. I got back in. So it's okay, but like, you got to master one thing at a time.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Honestly, that's a late thought. I was thinking like it's better to go where the money is in your time, because I was reading a book a couple nights ago, and it was about this dude who was Haitian.
Okay.
In antebellum America in 1830, and he went to New York because he was making ships, and he was doing counterfeit money in Haiti, and so they tried to kill him, and so he fled to America, And in America, he realized that the insurance companies were not that intelligent, and so he would just sink the ships and get a big check from the insurance companies, and everybody was doing it. And so, in his head, you got to find out where the money is in your time, in your society, and find out how to capitalize on that. Now, granted, that may be a little bit of a scam, but I mean, he was getting $17,000. This is a black man in New York in 1833. Yeah, wow. 1833. I mean, his name is Jeremiah Hamilton. They call him the Prince of Darkness.
Okay.
And I was reading up on his book, and it was like just a hustle.
The hustle. I was thinking that when you told me the story. He was the first
black millionaire, actually, that from New York City.
Damn, I never heard that story.
Vanderbilt said, get rid of all his pictures. I mean, Vanderbilt said he was the. I apologize. Vanderbilt said he was the only businessman he respected, but in New York they said get rid of all his pictures. We don't, so that's why a lot of people don't never heard of him. But his name is Jeremiah G. Hamilton.
Something to look up, guys. Jeremiah G. Hamilton.
First black millionaire in America.
Wow. Wow. So we learn from mentors, but mentors could be in books. They could be in movies. Like
throughout history,
history, those.
Whatever motivates you. I mean, I just, I say, man, if you look at life, really, it's really the justice part, because what motivates me is actually justice, making sure no one's being mistreated and making sure the people that need the most help get the most help. That's what motivates me.
Yeah. And so is that your why? Is that
that's really is. I try to, I can't help people if I'm not good,
Mentally too, right?
Mentally, yeah. I mean, yeah. You gotta, oh man, physical impacts your mental all the way. You know what I'm saying? If I'm living in a war zone, I'm not going to be very functional philosophy or something like that, So your mental affects your physical affects your mental for sure.
Yeah, they're tied in.
Yeah.
And, helping others is, it's nice to have financial means, and I didn't get in real estate for finance. I got in it for freedom of time.
Yeah.
Like that was my whole thing. Like, and then the financial part came after, but like.
Yeah, help. In a lot of ways, you can help a person. You can help a person by giving them a job. You can help a person by keeping them employed.
Yeah.
You can help a person by just giving them a purpose. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of ways to help people. People always think help is, driving to some random place and giving everybody $1 million,
Right.
Helping
is that going to help them long term?
Right.
Let's create education foundations that teach people creative finance, real estate.
The biggest help, in my opinion, is really helping people with education. That is the ultimate. I mean, if you teach a person how to fish, they eat for a lifetime. I mean, you just help that person for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You can give them a fish, that's helping them.
Yeah.
But teach them how to fish is better.
And
so education is really key.
Education's key. And, I don't know if you have children, but I do.
No kids yet.
No kids yet. Yeah. So they teach you a lot about your journey, yourself. So, I have financial means, but does that mean I'm going to give you as my son money? No, because that doesn't develop the inner self-esteem. It's the work, the paper route, the hustle that they have to know that that's not their money.
Yes. Yes. It inspires you.
Yes.
When you come from nothing, you look at something, you're like, man, I gotta have that.
And then when you accomplish that too, you're like, I did that.
Yeah.
It feels good inside that I can actually do something.
Yeah. I agree totally. As a kid, we used to see, I would see people driving in a BMW, while I was at the bus stop. I would literally count cars sometimes. I would count 1,000 cars past me before the bus comes,
Right. So were you, what did that inside, what did you feel like when you saw this fancy BMW? You don't even have a place to sleep or
Right. Honestly, it's crazy. I always felt like I was, I took pride in trying to be one of the coolest, freshest guys in school. I know that might sound kind of, cocky, whatever. It's not. I took pride in the way I dressed, the way I looked. But I mean, when I go home, we literally lived in a homeless shelter. Like we literally lived in a homeless shelter for almost like about 9 months.
Okay.
Like my family, there's 8 siblings, right? And so
So you got to hustle with 8 siblings. So
Yeah.
you probably learned that in the
Yeah,
house.
but I mean,
like,
it's good. It's a good network, you know,
It's a
and
great
everybody's
network.
doing great, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's a real
And
good
that
network.
started from your parents.
I mean,
probably.
yeah, I think that honestly being poor kept us together. Because when I saw rich, you know, it seemed like everybody's spread out more. You know, you got a big house. Everybody is in their little corner of their house. You know, they only see each other maybe dinner time, and it's
So
like
you got to communicate. You got to figure out how to solve problems. Like,
yeah. But when you're poor, you're in there with everybody. There's no hiding nothing. You know,
Right.
what I'm saying? If someone snores, I was in the bed. So I got 6 brothers, right? So it's 6 of us.
Are
total.
they all as big as you?
They're bigger.
Oh,
They're bigger.
look
Calais
out.
is like
Roger-
6'9". Yeah.
He's 6'9".
Calais
Holy
6'9".
cow.
He's like over 320, 330.
Okay.
Yeah, he's huge. And so
And that's the baby?
no,
Oh.
Calais is 2 years younger than me. Jared's the baby. The comedian is always the baby. Yeah, Jared is the baby. But we all sleep in one bed, right? We stayed at our grandma's house. We slept in one bed, and somebody peed in the bed. So when you're sleeping and somebody pees in the bed, you got to sleep in the pee. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This motivates you to like, I got it. We got to
figure this out. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to go back to that. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I got to work.
right.
We got to figure it out. And so I think that's
So
the
that
key.
kind of forced you to figure it out. And for people
And
just
be good with money. And
Right.
it also forced me to be good with money.
So with people just coasting, they're comfortable. That's not a great position to be in. When you're comfortable, then you got to reevaluate where you're headed, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you know the end game when you're like always, you don't know when to stop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you're used to everything. You know.
Yeah.
I just see a person that's used to everything. I just think their morals sometimes could be jacked up. It could be a lot of things that go with that. You know.
For sure.
But when
Because
you
you got more time on your hands. You know, we're talking trust fund kids. Like I've seen that happen in LA.
Yeah. I mean, no knock on them, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
it's a good thing that they were in that position. But I think
100%.
that doing that, you have to go with a struggle. Struggle is what builds character, in my opinion.
Yep.
It's like in a football game, even like in the basketball game when LeBron James ran down the court and blocked that shot to win the championship against Golden State. I mean, I guarantee if you ask LeBron what's his favorite moment, he's gonna go to that moment.
He'll remember that.
That's what builds character. That right there, when he did that, I guarantee his confidence risen. And so I think that when you go through that kind of struggle and then you prevail, then you win.
Yes.
It just makes your character that much better.
Yeah, because you're like, I did that, and my coaches, but that's true. So, yeah, it's quite the journey of life, right? Like we're always evolving. We're trying to, all right, we make X amount. We want to do a different project, bigger. So you're always challenging yourself. If not,
I stay learning. I stay learning.
Yeah.
You gotta have some kind of like code to you. You gotta have some kind of logic to your plan, basically. You gotta have a plan to your life. Okay, this is what I am. This is what I'm trying to be. You gotta be realistic. The key, Americans do this a lot because I travel a lot. And Americans do a lot of lying to themselves. A lot of it.
Self-awareness is big, man.
Yeah, Americans
you
do
have
a
to
lot
you have to be self-aware of who you are and don't lie. Be honest, because it doesn't hurt anybody except for yourself.
Man, delusion is high in America.
Yep.
I mean, men, women, people thinking they got forever to get into a relationship, and people thinking they got forever to get around to that. Like I think somebody said, I forget who said it. They said, "Don't follow your passion." I know that might sound kind of crazy.
Okay.
Don't follow your passion. Follow your purpose. Follow your purpose.
Oh man, yes.
That's the key. So, I think that Americans need to see that more. Because I just came back from Colombia and I see the way they move. It's a little bit more of a hustle. They have less, so it's like you gotta hustle. But
there was a recent football coach. I can't remember, but it was purpose over something else. But it's all about the purpose. Yeah. He said something similar to what you just mentioned.
Yeah. Honestly, I was in Africa one time and I was looking at this, I was driving and I saw this dude, he was just sitting there depressed. And I'm thinking, man, this dude is so young. Why is he depressed? And he's just sitting there with his time, just with his hand on his chin and just thinking. And I was thinking, like, look at all of these roads that need to be repaired. Look at all these stop signs that need to be put up. Look at this eligible body could be doing that, but yet, no one gave him the education. And no one gave him the motivation.
Yeah.
And no one gave him the purpose. And so I think that's where the help comes in.
Yes.
That's where the help comes in. And so I feel, You know, that's the drive.
Yes,
That's the
because you
drive.
have to learn somewhere, right? Like, because again, maybe we weren't born into money or we didn't learn financial literacy in the house. So
Yeah.
who's doing it? How do I figure it out? How can I learn? And that's why books are great. Travel is another way
Yeah,
to,
man, travel really does help. You
it
know,
expands your mind.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
especially living in Arizona, man. Arizona's a good, I think, good energy too, though. It's a good place to live.
Yes. If you guys haven't been here, come check it out in the fall. Like right now,
It's hot.
it's hot. It's 105 out there, guys. So,
Right. But the ocean, man, it does something to you, man. That water,
man.
honestly, I think people need to get more into nature. You know, people living
I
in New
connect
York.
with nature well. Like I'd rather
Yeah, I mean,
get up there on Sunday and yeah.
I mean, there's what man built and there's what God built. I would
Yeah.
like to roll with what God built and what man built. Man has a lot of anxiety, has a lot of stress, has a lot of pressures. But what God had built, it's a lot more freedom, a lot more
Yes.
relaxation,
Yes.
a lot more connection.
So I am a big mental health advocate because I
Yeah.
personally got sick about 5 years ago. So anxiety, stress, the way Americans live, like all that contributed to my breakdown. And like that's real, guys. So if you do need help, there's a suicide hotline and I'm always here to help you. But like you got to ask for help. That was one thing I said,
Right.
I'm good. And like I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. Like,
Man.
yeah, one of those life-changing moments. But, you know, I was at my darkest moment, but now I'm able to help other people through my struggle and show how, like, just to come out and smell flowers, drink a Starbucks,
Yeah.
like that was a highlight after being in the hospital for like 4
Man,
months.
so you got that purpose.
They got the purpose.
got the purpose
Got the
back.
purpose, and it's my mentor's like, you're going to be a better Flip than ever because I needed that. God made that happen, but it made me get healthy again. So it is real. The mental health, and there's professionals to help work that out for
I
you.
mean, honestly, though, to be fair, man, I've heard somebody say something. I thought this was interesting, a real interesting point. They said that really everybody has a form of mental illness. We live in a society that is really banked on mental illness, you know. And then I have to ask the question, you know, what is mental illness? And it could be a lot of things.
100%. Yeah.
But the answer that I've come to is that mental illness really is just a state of confusion. It's like a person on top of your roof talking about their Batman and they can fly. You know, that's a confused person.
I like the way you put that.
And
yeah.
the more confused you are, the more mentally ill you are.
Yes.
You know? And so the key is to just unconfuse people a lot of times.
Yes.
But the whole society is mentally ill, in my opinion, you know. And so, you know, the key is to unconfuse people as much you can. And the least confused person is probably going to be the leader, honestly.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a building
Yeah.
and somebody takes all the exit signs and sets the building on fire, everybody's going to be running around panicking, right? But the person who knows how to get out of the building is going to become the leader.
Yes.
And people are going to follow him, you know? And,
Yeah.
and so that's the key of getting rid of confusion is just, that's taking away a lot of that mental illness is really
Yeah,
key.
I wonder how it's dealt with because you mentioned the NFL community and some of the athletes
big.
you've worked with.
Man, it's sad, man. You know, a lot of times I see some of these Cardinal dudes that I seen back, you know, when I first got out here, you know, 14 years ago. And I seen one dude in Vegas one time, and I was like, walk by him, and he was sleeping. I ain't gonna say his name, but he was sleeping on the bench. And I was like, wow. And he looked like he didn't look homeless, but he looked like he was just not there.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
right.
He might have been drunk or whatever the case may be, but it was like it was a wake up moment. Like, dang, all this money this man's made, how this man has lived his life, you know, and now he has evolved to this. And this is after retirement, of course, and he's just sleeping on the bench. And I was like, man, that's just.
Hey guys, quick announcement. I just launched my new Passive Income Accelerator course. In this course, you'll learn how I built my Airbnb portfolio to 10 properties and growing while amassing $3,000 to $5,000 per property per month. If you want to learn more, go to piaaccelerator.com/go and sign up for the early bird special. And now back to the podcast.
you know, and he had cans on the floor. It just looked bad.
It's a
scene.
bad look, and he was struggling with something. And
Something.
it doesn't matter if you're an engineer, you're a pro
Right.
football player. Like, it affects the state of confusion. Like,
Right,
he was
right.
in
You know,
a
honestly,
state of confusion.
A lot of those guys, you got to factor in, like my brother is in the NFL. He
Okay.
played football since he was 6. And so he was playing football since he was 6. And now, you know, after football, he's trying to figure out, I got to reinvent myself now.
What's the next step, right?
And the key is to, like you said, you said you were dealing with some stuff and you have to reinvent yourself. Reinvention is key. Reinvention is key. You know, I mean, there's who you were and then there's who you're going to be. You know what I'm saying? You have today to reinvent yourself.
And then he surrounds himself with your network and see what are those guys doing. Maybe I want to do this, try it, maybe try it, don't like it, try something else. So it's not like, so.
I mean, you just got to find what your purpose is again. You know,
Yep,
find what your drive is.
Yep,
Yeah,
what's your motivation?
Yeah.
Because he's been doing certain things since he was 6, and now we knew it was going to come to an end, but maybe he didn't realize it was coming quicker than.
Man, it's cold. It's cold, and people say, hold on. I mean, Tom Brady still got it, but he still doesn't want to let it go.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? He still doesn't want to. I mean, at what point he's not going to be able to do what he's doing?
But he's got a setup for the next stage in his life. Like, he's already got offers from network. I understood.
Yeah, but I mean, it ain't the same.
It can't be. It can't be that game that he plays for 30 some years.
But we all change, though. That's just a part of life. You know,
Evolve.
acceptance.
Yeah.
You know, you got to accept yourself. That's the part of not lying to yourself.
Yes. So what the question would be with the, you know, football players are tough dudes. So, like, is that addressed mental health? Like, because I know growing up, it was just like, suck it up, like, you know, stuff like that. So is that, do you know anything about that?
Yeah. You know, I mean, they got CTE. They got a lot of stuff. You know, you'll never know until somebody dies and they, you know, have to split their head open and look at their brain. I mean, you'll never know. And so you got to live through your life with the possibility. But again, you know, if you're confused because of that, then, you know, that I can't, there's nothing that anybody can do, most likely, you know.
That's trauma.
Maybe, you know, medicine has to just get better, you know. I mean, because, you know, I don't know. You know.
And I think the awareness, hopefully, because I think for me, it was a pride issue too. Like, oh, I don't need that. Like,
So no, that really messes up men a lot, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Because we're like, oh,
you know, honestly though, lately I've been studying Spanish. Don't quiz me because I'm terrible at it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not a language guy myself, so I wouldn't be the one to quiz you.
But I've been studying Spanish, and you know, honestly, I think it actually makes my brain sharper. Yeah, I think that my brain is just clearer. It's a little easier. So I think that when you exercise your brain, it's good help. You know, it's good help. And me and my family's very competitive, man. It's little simple board games, man, like Monopoly,
we are
man.
too,
You ain't seen competition like that.
And that's how I taught my kids too, and they're super athletic, competitive, and so they take that into the world, but that's a reference, guys. Some families don't have that. So you got to learn it somewhere. Find a mentor wherever you're at in life, because it's hard to recreate the wheel. Ask for help. I'd say those two things are big.
I mean, there's groups. That's a part of building your network, you know.
100%.
I mean, I say if you're a young guy, under 30, you know, I would say, you know, the key is to focus on building your network. Live in a city with three professional sports teams, a football team, a basketball team, or a baseball, maybe a hockey team.
Right.
You know, live in the it area. Live in the area where, you know, it's popping or whatever.
Stuff is happening.
Live in the Tempes and the Scottsdales, you know, if you're under 30. And just try to build a network, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, get roommates, do whatever you got to do. Don't worry about the women, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
They'll come with the money, you know what I'm saying? But you get the money.
Yes. That should be your first. Well, I think the first thing is self-care, self-health, and then, you know, get that yourself well, and then chase your dreams, because you don't want to have a lot of doodads at 20 or 30. Like, doodads are, you know, fancy car, you know, few different, girlfriends. Those are all expenses. Yeah. So, like, focus on the money. Like, you got to think hustle.
Yeah, and they should learn financial literacy.
Financial literacy.
So the key is to be learning, you know, and I say if you're under 30, get a personal trainer, you know, work out. That's important. Don't just let your body go to crap.
You got to work physical.
Try to get a mentor or some kind of therapist, something to help you out, because it's going to be tough.
That's great.
And then, I think that these are things that will help you. And then try to work on financial literacy. You know, basically, you know, if it's an asset, it puts money in your pocket. If it's a liability, it takes money out of your pocket. Yeah. It's a simple math.
It's simple, but like, what's a good what's good debt versus bad debt? So a lot of people don't know good debt versus bad debt. So
recommend highly read Good Dad versus Bad Poor Rich Dad versus Poor Dad.
First book I would read if you guys haven't heard it. Do that. Think and Grow Rich is
Think and
another
Grow Rich is
amazing, classic. Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah, Richest Man in Babylon is very good. Yeah, you got all the good ones, man.
Bro.
You know, honestly, I think that's a really underrated book that's really good is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Stephen
Covey.
Yep. I'm a nerd when it comes to reading.
Yeah.
So we haven't even talked about your business. We've talked about all the mindset, and I love it because this is Cut the Curve. So we're trying to help you guys understand the business is the business, but there's the mental, physical, all that stuff that comes first, and the envisioning, imagination, like seeing it before it really comes true. So
I think it's all tied in. I think it's all tied. I mean, they said that Vince Lombardi actually wanted to be a lawyer, but you know, he stuck with football. And, you know, I think that he used that lawyer mentality into football, and that's what made him so great. So I think that it's a combination, you know.
100%.
You can't just be focused. You got to have a balance. Life is about a balance,
Yeah, and that's why I always tell students the balance is the time, 168 hours.
Yeah.
Where are you spending your time is what you get. Like if I focus on Airbnb every single day, I'm going to have a lot of Airbnbs.
Yeah, I mean, balance is really, really like that should be used more. Like it's like a store. If you got a product and it's in balance,
yes.
You know, you're trying to sell products for too high, you're not going to make any money.
Right.
And if you sell products too low, you're still not gonna make the money because now you're gonna lose money. You're gonna get the store away. So there has to be a balance. You know?
And the thinking part, guys. Don't forget about the thinking part. Take time. Like if you have quiet area, I used to go in the closet, man, and just think in the closet.
Quiet, man. People, people like noise. Try to go somewhere where it's peace and quiet to 100%. Do thinking. I think that's the key. If you can find peace and quiet to think. It's the most powerful thing you do. You know what I'm saying? There ain't any more better advice than that. Just go to a peace and quiet place.
You could be on that hamster wheel, action, 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 but is that really taking you where you want to go?
Right. And so,
it has to be very planned and thought, but then along the way, you move and shake and figure it out. So action is big. You think, but then you got to act, guys, because action... Like I could teach you everything, but if you're not stepping into it viscerally,
I mean, what they say was a thought, speech, then action. So you first think it, then you start speaking it, and then it starts happening.
And it comes into reality.
It's like you speak it into existence.
100%.
So I think that's key.
So talk to us about developing. You surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah, we drifted.
We drifted on that, but it was great convo there.
Okay, so back to my story. Really before real estate, I was doing film. Okay. I made a movie. It's called Heartless, and it was a great movie. And
Wait a minute, I didn't know you made.
I made a film.
Did you write it?
I wrote it. I directed it. I co-directed it.
Okay.
With a film student. Her name was Alexis, and she helped me with the directing. And then I was the main actor in it, and I got really good actors like Norman Towns and Jared Campbell, which is my brother, and I got a couple other people like Paige Mays.
Okay.
These are all people that are living in California right now, doing performance arts and doing films.
Beautiful.
And so they were all in it. We shot the movie. It was very difficult. I wrote it.
Did you ever imagine it'd be that difficult?
Man, it started off just a little concept. It started off just a little film. I saw something that inspired me, and then it's about a guy trying to get his life together. Mm-hmm. And then I was just right. I thought it was gonna be like something like 5 minutes, but when I started it, the movie ended up becoming an hour. It ended up costing all my money. It ended up exhausting all my resources.
You threw everything into it.
Everybody wanted to be a part of it, and it was like I learned from that. Like if you're gonna start something, think big because it might become big.
Trent said that last podcast. Think bigger, guys. Like we don't think big enough, right?
Think big, and then when they think you're thinking too big, think even bigger.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, just go big. I mean, that's how you do great things. You got to think
100%.
Big. And so I did film, and then I did concert promotion.
How long did it take from start to finish to get the the movie
The
out?
film, okay, yeah. So the film, to shoot it was kind of quick. We took about 3 months, really. I don't know if that's quick or not, but it took
Okay.
about, you know, you had to coordinate because we didn't have a big budget, so we had to borrow people's apartments and, you know, borrow people's cars. And it was just a lot of connections.
Nice.
And so everybody was really great in helping us do that. And but it took us about 3 months to shoot it. It took us about a year to edit it. Yeah, a year to edit it. And then I had it on a shelf. And I met Dan Harkins, who owns Harkins Theaters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't call him a friend, but I met him.
Uh-huh.
And so, and then I talked to him, and he was like, he gave me his contact. And so I reached out to them, and they let me get a couple of theaters. So I showed it in the Harkins.
In Arizona?
In Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, Tippy Marketplace.
Nice.
And so I aired it there a couple of times. It was great. It was a great film.
What an experience.
Yeah. The writing could have been a little better. You know, I was a little green. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
right.
The acting could have been a little better, and the directing could have been a little better.
Look at when you look back on it, but it got you.
But honestly, it was a really good film for what we knew and what we had. It really hit it was really good in my opinion.
And it came to reality.
Yeah, and so I did that.
What is it called again?
Heartless.
Heartless. Where can we watch
it? You can look it up on IDMB, but yeah,
Okay.
I never released it. I got it, you know what I'm saying? I never released it. I showed it in the films. People asked for it.
That's cool.
But I just never released it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, the message could have been a little cleaner.
Okay.
And that's the key. The key is like, you know, everything you do, you got to have a positive impact. You know,
Love that. Yeah.
You got to have a positive impact or you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
And
because
so
that stays with you. Yeah.
It's all that hard work, and I felt like the message just wasn't good enough for me to release it like that, you know. Yeah, it was about it was about a pimp or so. But he became a good guy. But
At
he
the
started
end.
off that way, at the end. But I'm like, it's still
Well,
not
what
good enough.
Hustle and Flow, isn't that about?
Yeah,
a
it
pimp
was
too?
similar, but it was a little bit more cleaner than Hustle and Flow. But I just
If you
felt
guys
like-
haven't watched it, that's
Yeah.
a classic movie.
True.
Yeah.
And so the film, and then I did concert promotion before I did film.
Okay.
I brought out some national acts. You know, I brought out Tony Roberts, Tony Rock, is Chris Rock's brother, Rod Stapleton. So these are national acts. And I was doing this at like 25, 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
Around in Arizona?
In Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, I you know, look back and like, man, I see my nephews and they're like 24 and 25. I'm like, man, you know, it's like, yeah, I was doing pretty good for myself even back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got out of film because I was broke. It's also I had no money. And then so real estate, I met this woman.
But losing is our best thing in life,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
When you lose, like it shows you a hell of a lot, doesn't it, bro?
Warren Buffett said doesn't invest in a business that has not failed at least twice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, yeah, I agree
That's
with that.
facts, guys. If you're doing it, you're gonna
Yeah,
fail.
you gotta fail, you gotta try.
Yep.
If you're not failing, you're not trying. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And so
You're
you gotta
comfortable.
try.
You're comfortable.
You're comfortable.
Yeah.
You gotta get uncomfortable.
And that's
you
where
gotta,
you would stick with your 9-to-5 job, and
Yeah, that's
you
like the
know?
elevator pitch. You gotta just shoot your shot. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Like, don't just sit
you
around.
got
and wait.
one shot. As
Time is not on your side. Time
Yep.
is never on your side. Go home and just try to figure something out today. Like,
Yep. And
time is never on your side.
a lot of gym analogies. Go home, go big or go home. Like
Yeah.
when you're in the gym,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
in the gym. Like
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
go.
Yeah. And
So you got into the promotion.
I know. Well, I started off in promotion.
Then you did the movie.
Then I did film, and I was like in my 27 when I shot that film. You know.
That's a great
Then,
experience.
yeah. That was an up and down experience though. Yeah, it was struggle, a lot
Struggle.
of struggling, man, because you ain't making no money. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
I mean, I could have probably went to the
It
corner. and
sounds
started-
sexy though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, everybody wants to be a part, everybody wants to be famous. There's a lot of praise that goes with that, but it's a lot of struggle that goes with that. You know,
Yep.
a lot of people who were working as janitors in LA were coming to be actresses and actors. And
Did you
so-
feel responsible kind of for them, or like?
my actors and
Yeah,
actresses?
yeah.
I mean, you know, I feel like they went off and they're still doing it. They're still doing
So
it.
it got him in.
I mean, I think consistency is key. I mean, consistency is honestly, if I can
It's
give
a
any
gem.
advice, it's
Yeah.
all about consistency.
Yeah.
You know,
And my mentor too tells me that the richest people he knows, they're now in their 80s, they stayed in that business and they kept at it. They
Yeah.
kept at it. Like,
consistency is key.
Yep.
Like, until you can make all that money when you start doing other things, you got to stay consistent. You know?
Yep.
And people will help you out. If you stay consistent, people will actually start
because they
helping
notice
out.
you, right?
Yeah, and you have an identity when you stay consistent.
Yeah.
When you're inconsistent, you only have an identity.
Yeah,
So
and
people
you
don't
got to
even-
try certain things in the beginning, but like you don't want to be in your 30s and 40s. Oh, Bobby's into this now he's into this. Like, you got to figure it out, guys. Now is the time to figure it out when you're 20, 30. And
I mean, just find your purpose. I mean, I think if you find your purpose and you stick with that right there will give you fulfillment.
yeah, because your purpose is different than Flip's, different than Isaac's.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
everyone has different purpose, but we could all help each other along the way. But I got to know what you're doing to help you and
Right.
how it fits.
Right. You need an identity.
Yeah.
And so, so that's where consistency comes from. And so when I got so we filmed the movie, we showed the movie, and then, I started looking at commercial real estate. I was working with this woman named Glenda,
Okay.
and she was looking at buying something for my brother at the time, because he was wanting to get into commercial real estate to buy a apartment complex.
I'm not going to ask you what brother. You got too many brothers.
The big one.
Oh,
the big one.
the
big one.
6'9".
Yeah, so he met a woman named
Can eat
Glenda.
refrigerators.
And I was doing film, but I wanted to go look at some properties with her because, he was playing football. He couldn't look with her. So I was looking with her. And then,
That's a great reference.
I don't have $100 in my bank account.
Uh-huh.
And so then she was showing me this building for $2 million, which we couldn't afford a building for $2 million. But, but I was thinking, I was like, okay, show me a building for $2 million. How much are you making? It dawned on me. And I seen her math was really, it was decent. I'm not here,
Right.
The math was decent, but I felt like I was doing her math for her, and she was the agent. She was the specialist. And so
she should know. Like,
she should know she should know cap rates and stuff like
Yep.
that. She should know.
She has to be the expert that's educating you as the novice.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I mean, I started studying. That went back to the thinking part. I went back. I was learning. I started.
The
learning.
light bulb came on.
The light bulb came on.
Yeah.
Because I calculated, if she sells this building for $2 million, and how much is she going to make off of this? And then I did the math. I was like, she's going to make 60 grand. Because she's making 3% on a $2 million sale. That's 60 grand.
Yeah.
For a person with less than $100 in their bank account, 60 grand was everything to me.
Man.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The light bulb went off. And so then I started kind of studying it more and more. And then I ran across a guy who said he was in real estate class. And so, I got his contact, and he got me in a real estate class. I brought a couple of friends with me, and then they're doing great now too. And they're in real estate. And so I started my real estate agent journey. And then that's
So you got licensed?
Yeah, I got licensed. I'm still licensed, even to this day. I still stay licensed. And so then that ended up getting me into meeting Joe Reese, and then from Joe Reese, I ended up learning how to develop and got to meet great architects. And like I said in the beginning, great general contractors and all of that stuff. And so, and I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know? And it's not always roses, you know what I'm saying? It's
Nothing's roses, guys. If someone tells you it's all roses, they're lying. Like,
right.
Everything that's worthwhile is going to be hard as hell. Like, there's days you're like, what am I doing? But like, once you figure it out,
it's not all, man. You got to think as a developer, when COVID hit, it hit development very hard.
Yes.
It hit development very hard. And so Joe is good, but even Joe makes mistakes. He's been doing this for 40 years, but he makes mistakes. And he hired a guy, I ain't gonna say his name, but he was a GC who was bad.
I've been through some bad GCs. And
Yeah. And here's the thing: when you're building, stick with somebody who has done the product. Stick with that guy, and or he knows, he's been around that product. But basically, stick with the guy who has done it.
Right.
Stick with a guy that.
So Joe decided to go with someone else.
Joe tried to save some money. He tried to save some money, and he went with a guy who does residential building. And residential building and commercial building is a big difference. You know what I mean? Do residential building, you really don't need a whole lot of knowledge. Not to knock it. You don't need as much knowledge as you need in commercial building. Especially when you're doing townhouses, you got more pipes. He was hiring residential people to do the piping for the plumbing, and they were just messing everything up. Yeah.
And they're really the ones that make it happen. Like, and that had to be so frustrating.
Man,
like,
it was bad. And then after he messed up almost everything, he was cutting through the firewalls, and he was just messing everything up. We couldn't even find the manhole. We couldn't. It was just everything he was doing he was doing it wrong, and so we had to fire him. So when we fired him, he got mad and put a lien on the property. So if you know anything about development, you got a $3.8 million loan to build, and so when a person puts a lien on your property, the loan goes void. And so now, but you still have to pay the interest. And so this dude took us to court. We had to go to court with this guy. This lasted for like 9 months.
Yeah.
This lasted for a good little minute. And so
Yes.
then we had to finally went ahead and paid him off, even though it wasn't worth it. But we had to get this project back going. So we gave him a check for $250,000. And then he ended up, dropping the lien or whatever the case may be. And then we was able to get
Because
back
anyone
on.
could file a lien, right?
And this is all went down in 2019. And then we back to building, and then boom, COVID
hits us.
Just boom, it just messed us up.
Yeah.
So now we're in COVID, and like we still got to pay on the loan. You know what I'm saying? But the loan, it stopped for a good little minute. They stopped for a minute. But as soon as things opened back up, the loan went back to collecting payments. And so now we're in a situation to where, honestly, even to this deal, I'm gonna have to say, remember I talked about the balance?
Yep.
So right now we even have complications because there's a lack of workers. A lot of people don't know that. There's a lack of workers, I don't know where all the workers went, It's not a lot of plumbers, not a lot of the cement guys taking, he said, hey, there's no cement.
And you're talking about today, even with
Today,
the market
right?
shift.
Today. I was having this conversation this week on Monday.
Interesting.
He was like, you got to schedule guys. They used to be able to get a guy like, he probably have like 2 jobs a day, maybe 1 job a day. Now dudes talking about they got like 4 and 5 jobs in one day. And they're booking you now for 2 weeks in advance. Yeah, so it's still a big inconsistency in the supply chain
of workers, right?
Shortage of workers and material. And so this is things we're still solving.
Yep.
And so we've seen it all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When it goes to development, and so now we're at the point now where we can sell it. And this is a big relief.
Oh, so you're at that stage?
Yeah, we're at the stage now we're selling. I mean, we're pouring concrete because the previous GC messed up the foundation. So,
Gotcha.
And good thing he did pour the concrete because then we had to drill up the concrete to fix all of that. And so
tell the audience what this project is and like what you're.
Yeah, so this project is on Rural and Apache.
Okay.
It's on Spence, but
Arizona State University.
Right by Arizona State University. It's a 16-unit townhouse. The units are it's 3-story roof deck.
Okay.
It's about 2,000 square feet. Got 2-car garage. It's built, modern built. And yes, right there by ASU.
And it listed for how much?
We're listing the project for $12 million.
Okay.
$12 million. That's just a discount because the dude that built it, Joe Reese, was the guy who was the pioneer of building it.
Oh, gotcha.
And I partnered in, and a couple other guys we partnered in, and he ended up dying. And so, the partnership now is like, we sell it,
Yeah.
Let's sell it, let's move on to better things.
Because were you going to
we
rent
were going to rent it
out
originally. We were thinking about
to
renting
students?
it. Yeah, we were thinking about renting it. But some of the partners kind of started like, going at it.
And that's the thing sometimes, like when you have too many partners, one guy wants to do this, one guy.
I think the key is always try to approach things politically, try to be diplomatic and try to solve problems,
We're
the
problem solvers, right?
The key is being a problem solver. That is such an underrated term. Mm-hmm. Problem solving is the key.
Yeah, because about money, what happens, people get emotional. So let's approach it calm.
But I mean, it's a good profit. Everybody will be taken care of, but I mean, it's still high tension. So, it's best for us just to sell it and go on about our business to the next thing. And so, now we're at the part where we're selling it. It's about to hit the market next week.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's about to hit the market
next week. Check it out one day.
Yeah. Let me know. Let me know. I'll set it up. And then, from their point, I start doing more of my own things. So I got 2 projects I'm running. So, we got an 8-unit in Tempe, right? Kind of closest on.
You like that Tempe area or it just happened to be available?
For my product, I think, I'm trying to.
What's your look? What are you coming out with? Like,
yeah,
style?
so it's a townhouse development.
Okay.
It's 8 units. It's 3-story. It's 2-car garage. That's the formula. It's good rentals, good Airbnbs.
Yep.
Right there by ASU. What better place, in my opinion, for rentals?
It's a phenomenal area.
Yeah, and it's right there by campus. I mean, people walk by my project every day on the way to campus. And so I'm like, this is a good place to build.
And I don't know I'm sure you heard the hockey team is coming from Glendale, Arizona to Tempe. So that's going to.
Yeah, I mean, the more the better.
Yeah.
The more the better. Yeah. I stay near Tempe Town Lake and.
And that's a beautiful area down there.
Yeah, it is. And it grew in the last 5 years.
Yes.
So I got an 8-unit, and then I got another unit, 10-unit, and then I got an 8-unit. And so,
Are those Tempe or Phoenix?
No, those two are Phoenix. The
Okay.
10 and the 8 unit are Phoenix.
Excellent.
Yeah, but
Excellent.
the 8 unit is Tempe.
That's
And
awesome.
so yeah, then I got the 16 unit. With
And you
Joe.
take partners, right? You take like
Yeah.
joint ventures when you're
Yeah,
raising
think about-
capital.
So this last deal I did, it was to secure the land because we're in the development process right now, man. Honestly, it was my most stressful deal. It was the most difficult deal. I was dealing with a lady and she was just very difficult, man. We had our money escrow and she was trying to take our money in. Usually when you do escrow, if you're doing development, you want to, if you're buying land, go 60 days, go 90 days if you
Okay,
can.
so stretch it out.
Yeah, go 90 days you're
For your
buying
due
land.
diligence,
Yeah,
right?
for your due diligence. Yeah, it's land, it should be simple, but there's a lot that goes into that. Like, you got to sometimes, because it's better to get going right away. So as soon as you buy the land, get the architect already working on developing the plans for it. And so then, if you go 90 days, you can go 90 days, your due diligence period could be at least 30 to 45 days of your inspection. And then during the inspection period, you can pull your money back out during the inspection. And so we was working with this particular deal, and this lady, she wanted us to put in, it was like 40 more grand into our.
So what do you put? Because I know for homes, I usually give like 10,000 earnest. What is it for like?
It's similar, so,
Okay.
2%, something like that.
Okay, gotcha.
But so it started up. The purchase was not 900,000 for the land.
Okay,
And so we put down, the 2%. It was like I think like 18,000, something like that.
gotcha.
And then the due diligence period was almost closing, but there was a lot of variables that went with that. Like, I didn't know, if the loan was going to come through. I didn't know if the partners wanted to come through.
Right.
Contracts needed to be signed. We needed to know if the city was going to approve.
Right. So there's a lot of hands in the in the mix. Like you have to coordinate all this.
Man, it was a nightmare. And then the lady who I was selling with, usually they're a little bit more cooperative, because they don't want to put their property back on the market
Right.
when you're in escrow.
Yeah.
But, she was just like, yo, you got to throw in another 40. We had to throw in another 40. She gave us
She was
literally
being
one
difficult.
extra week. I was like, yo, we need at
One
least a
week?
month. Yeah, we needed a month. She gets 1 week.
Oh, jeez.
But, man, that came back to that football drive. Like, we had to get it done.
Right. You figure out whatever it took to make that deadline. And
Man, it was
make
all of
happen.
it. All of it. Get the contracts on it. You had to call people 3 or 4 times, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you got to kind of line everything up like a coach, really.
Yep.
You have to make sure everybody's in the right position and everybody's ready to pull the trigger. And so,
Love that.
we were able to pull it off and secure it. And then, the neighbor came in and he had his own visions. And so then I'm like, your visions, I have to run them through I have to render them and make sure that they worked or not. And they didn't work. And so then we came up with another formula. So we add another 8 units to the 10 unit. And, it just comes to constant problem solving. I mean, I'm still right now solving problems
Every
on these
day.
deals. Yeah.
Every
It just
day.
doesn't stop. you
Yeah.
know?
So if you think any type of business doesn't have problems, you're misinformed, right? Because I mean,
Man.
you got to figure it out on the fly sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it's first time in 20 years I've ever experienced this in flipping, and I've never seen this, but there's always new things that can pop up.
And Tempe's tough, man. Tempe's very tough. The city of Tempe to get your permits. Oh man, you gotta have everything
Jumping
perfect.
through hoops. And,
Man, it is tough. It's tough.
I hear that about different cities. Yeah.
Tempe is very tough to get approved. You're gonna build. I don't want to, bad mouth Tempe because I love Tempe.
Right.
But if you're new to the building, don't build in Tempe.
Do it somewhere else as the guinea pig.
Wait till you use like a third or fourth development, then go to Tempe. Yeah, because then
your stress levels will go.
Yeah, and if you do build in Tempe, buy the land. Do not rent. Do not buy the land through a mortgage or something. Buy the land outright. You know what I'm
Gotcha.
saying? Yeah, because at Tempe, you think it's gonna be 6 months to get your permits, but you might be looking up and it's a year and a half passed.
Wow.
You still don't have your permits. This was going on. Yeah, I bought my land in 2019, and I still have not got my permits, and I've been working with the city, for a long time. We're about to get them September, but it took a long time,
Yeah.
and so, and I already have the construction loan. The construction loan that we got is $2.8 million. We already have that on the table, and I have to pay the assurances and all of that, and they're like, yo, when you gonna start? I'm like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? The city of Tempe is just
We're
constantly
waiting on the city to help us a little bit here.
I'm about to call the mayor like, what's going on in there, man? But the city of Tempe's tough. So
Well, you got some big friends, so just take the big friends out.
take my brother.
take the big dudes knocking on the door.
It's taking so long with this
What's
permit
going on
process.
down here? So I love that story. So, a couple final questions, Raj, for you. One of the things we hear a lot in real estate, people want to get started. I don't have enough money to do that. Like there's a limitation for some reason there with folks. How would you, now being in the game, you came from nothing, you didn't have money, you had I think $100 or less when you met that realtor at that property.
Yeah.
What do you tell folks that are like?
No, that's a really good question. So, okay, so the thing is this. You got to find out. This goes back to thinking and find out what people want, right? So my brother is in the NFL. Okay, so
He's still playing?
He's still playing.
Oh, football season coming up.
Baltimore. Yeah, he plays for Baltimore.
Sweet.
Shout out, Campbell.
Oh, I didn't know that. I had because he was at the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Calais.
Yeah, and people think like, so the thing is this. First of all, Calais is a relative, and that does help. But
yes,
I pitched 1,000 ideals to Calais and his teammates. And Calais said no to every single one. Okay, he just literally shot me down. That was how he moved. He had a financial advisor, and they weren't filling the ideals, and they shot it down. And so then my job was to find out what do they say yes to,
Okay.
What they say yes to. And so as I started going through the real estate process, if you built your network, because really when I first started doing this, there was actually a guy named Corey Peters, who really is, to me, I look at like a brother,
Is that the big kahuna or no?
Corey Peters is a D tackle for the
okay. There's a guy
Corey
out
Peters.
in Gilbert that's known as the big. He's Corey too, but
his
maybe
name is
not.
Corey. Yeah, Peters. Yeah,
Okay.
Corey Peters is, honestly, is my brother. He held me down when everybody said no. He said yes. And
He believed in you.
And I asked everybody. I met him because we was in Hawaii when I was talking to him, because everybody flew out to Hawaii, and we was out there. And I was talking to him, and honestly, when I met him, I thought he was gonna be a guy that said no about his energy. He was like, he kind of let off like, get that, I ain't trying to hear all that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I still pitched him. I'm doing real estate. If you're looking to,
So you got rejected 1,000 times.
I got rejected 1,000 times. I got rejected by everybody always.
Okay.
I just started. I'm a big rejection for a lot of my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When it came to business, okay. But the key is to keep going. And so eventually Corey came around and, out of nowhere just called me. He was like, yeah, I got your information, Hawaii. Let's go look at some properties. And I was like, wow, that threw me off guard.
But what I love about that is you had a plan.
Yeah.
You had a presentation. You knew
Yeah.
what you wanted to show Corey, right?
Yeah.
Like you weren't going to be like, let's go figure it out, Corey. You were like, I got to show you this.
Yeah. And so this is so we look at some properties, because I've been doing my research. I was doing endless research. I've seen everything at least 3 times. I met everybody, and this is I concentrated in Tempe.
You educated yourself.
Yeah, I educated myself, and I built a network of just just even the small people matter. The small things determine the big things. And so those little people, they matter.
Yep.
And so as I took Corey to look at the properties, he started buying 1, 2, 3. He just bought a lot of properties, and then when
you had a contact within your family, your circle and guys, everyone has someone in their circle that has capital, but what you had was the idea, the plan,
right. So,
and that's what you guys need. That's what I think you're coming around to. If you don't have the financial, do what you did.
Yeah, this network, and because it takes money to make money, but when no one talks about it, it takes money to lose money. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so when I first got Corey to come around, I was telling him, you can put this money in the because I've done concert promotion. You could put $100,000 in concert promotion, but you may not get your money back. That's a possibility. If you don't sell tickets, you lost $100,000.
Right.
But if you buy a house, for $100,000, and you hold it for 10 years, even if it's a crap house, it's still going to grow in value.
You're going to make, it's going to appreciate.
And if you decide to sell it, you want to get out, you're pretty much going to get most of your money back.
Right. So what did Corey buy? What was his first?
His first project was a townhouse. Something about townhouses and what I do.
Yeah.
So we bought a couple townhouses after that point, But we bought a townhouse. It was a new build on top of that, and so we bought it. It got built. We started renting it out. It started making a profit. He bought it for like $270. It was a brand new townhouse on Curry.
Okay.
Yeah, Curry.
Tempe, yeah.
Curry and Miller. So we bought one, and then we had a tenant, and the tenant was great. The tenant was in there for like 4 or 5 years, And then we got another great tenant in. The rents went up. So he was happy.
Yeah.
We got more properties.
Satisfied. So,
it was all good
yeah.
business. And so he kept giving me more business. And that's how I was able to get into development, because he now was ready to keep investing with me. Even when my own brother was not willing to invest with me.
Right.
He was. And
Yeah,
so,
and through that relationship, you started with one, because I used to have guys like, Flip, I'll give you 10 deals. I'm like, let's try one.
Right.
Let's try one, brother, and
Right.
see how it goes. And that's what Corey was probably testing too. Gave you one, then he bought another, and then.
Right. So, at first so sum it all up, I asked 1,000 people. 99 of them said no. You know what I'm saying? 999 of them said no. One person said yes. That one person, I did my homework, what I was trying to sell him. And then he bought it. And then I satisfied his buy. And then he bought more. And he kept buying more. And then eventually, it became a real tight partnership. And so then that partnership when I met Joe and started selling stuff, my family bought something from Joe. And so then, Joe was like, you bring me money and I'll let you in on this deal. And so I brought Joe money and he let me in on the deal. He said, bring me $1 million. I brought him $1 million. He let me in on the deal. I got some of the back end and, and so.
Again, it goes to that structure that you talked about earlier. Like, even if you don't have money, guys, you could create a structure. Like I always say, lock up the deal. The money's everywhere. So just lock that deal up. I'll show you what to do with the deal.
So this is simple math. There's people out there that have great ideals that need money. And there's people out there with a whole lot of money that have no ideals. Your job is to be the middleman and to make those come together. Yeah. And then to make sure it goes smoothly, which it never goes smoothly.
It never goes smoothly.
But to try.
Right. You try to make it, because there's variables. So you try to make it go and if something happens, guess what? You're communicating right there. Like you're facing it. You're not in the sand. You're addressing it, because we know things happen.
Yeah. And so, so that's how that deal got going. And then from that point, because that deal was Joe. He was the one that created the banks and stuff. I just started seeing all his paperwork because he was sending it to me while he sent it to Corey. And then once there was kind of conflict started happening with the Ketter thing, that kind of made the GC. Once there was conflict with that kind of messed everything up. And so tensions got high, And so when the tensions got high, the partnership kind of like stopped talking as much. I'm giving you a little extra, today.
A little extra tea.
Yeah. So everything doesn't go smooth. But, the key with me to stay learning, I started studying what he was doing. And then I was able to when I saw a piece of land, I went out there and purchased that land, And then once I found out how he financed a deal, I went out there and did a similar deal. Yeah. And then, and then when it came to getting money, I said, okay, so I was able to get him money. Now I got to be able to get money for myself. So I started calling up the same contacts. And then I was able to raise, close to $1 million on my project.
And all you need is one person to believe in you, right?
Yeah.
One person, guys.
And once one person sees that you have done it, once you get past that first step, then they feel more comfortable with you.
Yep. Opens so many doors.
It's a little easier. It's always a little easier the second time around. You know? And so once I got that first project going, people started believing, and the second project got going. And then the third project got going. And then the fourth. And so, we're constantly looking, and
he's going to own all of Tempe.
They call me Tempe Raj.
Tempe Raj is in the house. Nice. So final question, guys, or for Raj is, you talked a lot about purpose. Let's end there, and then let's hear a little bit about your purpose.
It goes back, man, to justice, making sure nobody's being mistreated, and making sure the people that need the help get the most constructive help. That's what drives me, you know what I'm saying? In my head, the world is injustice, a lot of injustice, a lot of mistreatment going on. Yeah. How can I try to minimize that? Yeah. How can I try to minimize the mistreatment? Yeah. Education, respect. I always teach my kids. Right. Be respectful. Right. I mean, a lot of times education really, if the smarter you get, I think the more love you start developing in your heart. Yeah. A lot of times when people don't have a lot of information in their head, they're more liable to do bad things. Like a kid, the kid doesn't understand the consequences. But once you start teaching people, that can prevent mistreatment a lot. Right. And then I think that when you're trying to help the person who's most help, whoever has the longest list of problems, start with that person. help that person out. And then, and then build that. Now, if you build like that, your whole operation will become better. It's like a football game. If the person needs the most help, if he's not getting it, then they're going to beat you. They're going to keep running that play, and it's going to end you. But if you start making everybody strong, then you become unbeatable.
Yes.
That's what drives me.
Love that. That's exciting. Yeah. Well, had an awesome time here today with Raj, guys. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, Cut the Curve. Tell your friends about it. Follow us. Put your notifications on. And also follow Raj. Where do they find you, brother?
Follow me on Instagram, Raj Campbell. Yeah, it's my name.
Raj Campbell, RAJ.
CAMPBELL.
And go Cardinals or Ravens? Who you
go Ravens, man.
Ravens?
Yeah,
right,
my family plays on the Ravens now. I love the Cardinals, but I got to stick with the fam, so go Ravens.
100%. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next Cut the Curve. Thanks, Raj.
Appreciate you. My man.